think we're going to turn it over to our featured presentation for the night. So if you turn back the Wayback Machine to about last year, about at this time, we had a request from the Mayville Elementary School, some of the students that were there, to help with the get a marten housing for their elementary school. We had a very generous donation of a person, somebody from Beaver Dam, who was kind of getting out of the marten business per se. He had taken down his housing. He had beautiful marten gourds with a bunch of extra stuff, and he was really doing it right, but he just felt he couldn't keep it up. So he donated it to the center here, and Liz thought it would be an excellent project for the Mayville Elementary School. So we kind of partnered up. The Bird Club ponied up some money for some things, such as some decoys and a recorder, and what else did we?
Solar panel.
Oh, okay. Sorry. and I went over and helped out and dug the most miserable hole I have ever dug in my life. And being the CEO here, the chief excavation officer, that's kind of saying something. It wasn't just gravel and hard pan; it was frozen gravel and hard pan. So, yeah, that was kind of special in a way. So, okay. I got the warning that I'm stealing Liz's program here, so we're going to turn it over to her and listen about this kind of the next generation of bird watchers that we're trying to cultivate over at Mayville Elementary School.
All right, thanks everybody. Can you give me again a thumbs up just to make sure everybody can hear me okay? From the Zoom peeps. Hopefully that's good. All right. Marilyn gave me, okay, perfect. So thank you very much for having me. I am supporting my Mayville Cardinals. I am a Mayville School District parent as well. And so as Jeff alluded to at the beginning, basically everybody in Mayville right now is at Camp Randall in Madison, and we're like a minute 30 away from winning the state championship. So super exciting for our town, about 5,000 people. But I'm excited to share just a really fun project that I had the opportunity to work with, and with the Bird Club and with Jeff. And I've been working with the Mayville School District for basically my entire career. So about 16 and a half years now. They're just an amazing district to work with. And I'm excited to kind of share this project, and hopefully we'll be able to add to this story year after year. But wanted to start a little bit with just general background information on purple martins, right? We'll get into the story of what happened in Mayville, but got to make this a bit educational as well, right? So there we go. Purple martins are one of those amazing birds that I know a lot of people remember having in their farmyards and their backyards, maybe back during their childhood, and those sounds aren't there as much anymore. And they're certainly a bird that we're trying to help reestablish a little bit more. So purple martins, they are a bit different than many of our other aerial insectivores. They are colonial, which means they like to live together. They must live together. And so if you get the right habitat, you will have dozens, if not hundreds, of purple martins that are nesting in these apartment style boxes, essentially. And they're going to need open water, open areas. Their main source of food is dragonflies. So if you have open area for them to be able to fly overhead and water where those dragonfly nymphs can hatch, then you have a potential area for purple martins. In the east, they nest almost exclusively in human-made structures. And that is really important because it means that they are very, very reliant on humans and making sure that humans are providing the correct type of structure and also helping to keep many of those predators and other non-wanted species in. And so many people will call this sound. Oh, I switched my speakers around. Hold on. This is what happens when we go back and forth on speakers. Give it one more shot. There we go. Hopefully that was hearable to our Zoom people. You hear that through Zoom, Suze? Perfect. Okay, so it's a very iconic sound, one that we hear in farmyards or heard in farmyards quite often, anywhere that had that open space near ponds, and really, really great to work with. So, pearl martins, what is their range? Where are they going? Where are they spending their time? Well, you can see that for most of the breeding season, they're spending it in the eastern portion of the United States. And then they're going to migrate down through central Mexico or through Mexico, Central America, and they're going to end up in South America, many of them in Brazil. And most purple martins we see leaving our area by the end of August. And they are already making that long journey down. So right here, this is one of the cool abundance maps that Cornell makes. You can kind of see where everybody is going. So it starts in January, goes up. This is May. They're getting into the breeding area. And in October, November, they're already back in their wintering ground. So right now they are soaking up the sunshine in Brazil, South America. They've already made it back to their wintering grounds, somewhere where there are plenty of insects for them to enjoy. So they really make a pretty decent beeline out of here about the end of August so that they can get back to their breeding grounds. So purple martins, what do they look like? Well, you have a couple of different variations, which makes it a bit interesting when you're trying to identify purple martins. So adult males, that's what we've got on the right-hand side here. They are iridescent, dark bluish purple, very, very beautiful in that sunlight with brown-black wings and a fairly long tail. Females, as most of our females in the birding world, they're a bit more dull, a little bit more gray mixed in with that brown, and then a bit more white on that chest and a whitish lower belly. So this is our adults of purple martins. Now they don't reach that adult stage until they're after their second year or their second year. So you may have breeding adults that don't quite look like those pictures you just saw. So this is what we call subadults or second years. And they can be a bit more challenging. And this is what we believe we had mostly at our complex at Mayville, because when you're starting a new colony, many times the first birds that are going to get there are ones that are not already established somewhere else. So for our subadult males, our second years, they will look a lot like the females. If you look on the top of the head here, it does have that little bit more bluish iridescence. And then there's just like a couple of specks, like right here and right here, that have that darker blue that are are going to signify this is the male. Whereas the female, the second year female, has a lot more pinstriping down the chest and that more brownish color. So very challenging to ID, but it can make a difference. And then the juveniles, when they hatch, they're going to look a lot like the females with a shorter tail. So it's kind of fun to get to know who's all there. So what is the relationship with humans? I already mentioned that purple martins now today are reliant very much on humans to create those nesting structures, but it's not just today. Many of our indigenous peoples hung up these gourds that were hollowed out and created nesting cavities for purple martins because they recognized that purple martins could be really, really great pest control for humans. If you think about it, a lot of our indigenous peoples are preserving meats and hides, and that can attract insects. And so you want to have birds that are around your area that are controlling some of those insects. And the purple martins, they learned that if they were nesting near humans, there was a lot less likely that there was going to be a predator coming into their nesting cavity. So things like squirrels and raccoons and even raptors to some extent. And at this point in time, you weren't having to deal with European or English sparrows. They weren't here yet. So there was definitely a really great trade-off for both of those two to have purple martins nesting in the area. And I know Jeff really loves this story. It was very common to have purple martin houses put up that John J. Audubon used to choose as lodgings based on how elaborate and nice looking the purple martin house was, because he figured if folks were taking great care of the purple martins, they were going to take great care of their guests as well. And so kind of a really interesting tie between purple martin boxes and colonies and the upkeep that was there. So purple martins are aerial insectivores. They are getting all of their food in flight and also their water in flight as they are basically going down to the water, scooping it in, and then continuing to fly. So all of their feeding, all of their drinking is on the move. You're not going to see a purple martin, sitting and lapping up water anywhere or sitting on a perch and then diving down and grabbing an insect. They are true aerial insectivores. And so that's a really important thing to remember when you are designing these complexes for them. And we definitely want to be aware of the fact that aerial insectivores are in severe decline. So this was State of the Birds from 2019, and it shows that they're in a 59% decline since 1970. So that's massive. And that's just not purple martins, that includes bluebirds, that includes tree swallows, any of our true aerial insectivores. And we want to see what we can do, obviously, to help bounce those numbers back up again, because obviously, again, in 1970, those numbers were significantly better. And you can see the track graph is really interesting. The birds that are on an incline, waterfowl. Well, why are they increasing? Likely because there's more money going towards wetlands through duck stamps and that type of thing. Same thing with wetland birds. So there's a lot of money going into wetlands for a variety of different reasons that may help increase those that maybe our aerial insectivores are not necessarily benefiting from. Also, you know that we just wrapped up our Wisconsin Breeding Bird Atlas, so we now have a comparison from 20 years ago. So on the left is the original Breeding Bird Atlas and the confirmed nesting of purple martins in the state. So the dark blue is where there was a confirmed nest. And you can see basically a good chunk of the eastern part of the state, anywhere around the rivers where there is water. One on the right, not quite as dense. So those dark purples are fewer and far between than what we saw even 20 years ago. So again, we're really hoping that we can provide some good nesting and some quality housing to hopefully bounce these numbers back up for the next Breeding Bird Atlas. We don't want to see those colors shrink even more than what we're seeing right now. So nesting. Once you get those structures up, what's happening inside those gourds, those boxes, whatever it is you put up. Well, our purple martins, just like every other bird, has a really unique way of building their own nest. And they're going to start with mud and maybe some thicker grasses, maybe even some twigs. That's going to be the start. Sometimes they'll even build a little dam on the front to potentially keep out other predators and things like that out of that mud. After that, you're going to see them bring in some fine grasses. And finally, they're going to layer it with green leaves. You can see that in the background here of this picture. Once the green leaves are in, you know that nesting is likely going to start. We actually found a couple of eggs in our martin boxes at Mayville that had green leaves kind of over the top of the egg. So it was like a little blanket. It kind of signified that they were finished. Typically, they're going to have anywhere between 3 and 6 eggs once that nesting is finished. Eggs are pure white. They're a smooth egg, typically about 15 to 18 days of incubation. It's a bit of a larger bird, so they will take a bit longer, and then 27 to 36 days before the nestlings fledge. So again, bit of a bigger bird, it's going to take a little bit more for them to leave that box. And so for that 27 to 36 days, mom and dad are out there constantly catching as much food as possible. And one of their main sources of food, I know everybody thinks purple martins, mosquitoes, but their main source of food is actually dragonflies. They're going to be using that significantly. We find dragonfly wings sometimes when we're cleaning out the martin boxes, pieces of dragonflies. They will eat other insects as well, but that's why it's so critical to have purple martin nests near water, because dragonflies, before they become flying around, terrestrial, their larva stage is in the water. And so they have anywhere between 1 to 3 years of a larva stage in the water before they hatch into that more terrestrial flyer. So if you are not near water, you're not going to produce dragonflies, and you're going to have a lot less of a food source for our purple martins. And you can see they can get pretty piled in on that in those boxes. This has got 6 in here, so and that's only probably about halfway done growing for them. So that box is going to get pretty tight over the years, or over the course of that 36 days. So one of the cool things that you can do, not just with purple martin boxes, but with any cavity that you are watching, is you can put that information into NestWatch. It's through the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. Basically, it's a giant database of all of your nesting boxes. So just like eBird is a giant database of all the birds you've seen, well, this is going to do the same thing for your nest boxes. And so it's an easy way to track any of your boxes. You can check, put in all of your checks so you know what you're seeing throughout that time period, and it will then track that every single year, so you can compare boxes, which ones are doing well, which ones are not doing well. And it's a very useful tool and a fun way to be able to check and see how your boxes are actually doing. So that was a bit of background about purple martins. We're going to dive a little bit into the project that we did here locally. So Mayville Elementary School is couple miles down the road from here. We have been partnering with them for 10 plus years, closer to 16 for some of the groups that they bring out here. They have a existing prairie on their school site. So let's see, for the folks on Zoom, this rectangle right here is their existing prairie. Hopefully everybody can see that. The elementary school is here, Henninger Street, Clark Street. This right here is the East Branch of the Rock River. If you are a birder, this batch of trees right here is Ziegler Park. So it is only a quarter mile away from Ziegler Park. So it's got water, it's got open area with the prairie, the practice football fields are right here. And what we were doing was we were trying to find something to replace a bat box. We had done a prescribed burn the year before, and that may have gotten a little toasty. And the bat box did not survive the prescribed burn. But we were like, what's something else that we can put? The prairie itself is actually going up a hill. So the top of the prairie, you can see the top of the school roof. So we knew it was at this high point, wide open area. And we're like, well, close to water. Let's see if we can find a purple martin house and get it up there. Right here, this rectangle here is the practice fields for the football team. They also have a bunch of wires there to hold up the netting behind the field goal post. And so purple martins, if you're aware, they love to have some sort of a string or a wire between the houses or nearby so they can perch and keep an eye on the colony. And so we really had everything, you know, theoretically that you tell you're supposed to have to create a purple martin house. And we're like, we've got everything checked. Let's see what we can do. And so we knew we had the correct location. We had all this, but we didn't have the stuff, right? We didn't have a pole. We didn't have gourds or a housing structure. And so that was going to be our next step with our students. And just a little background there, the fourth grade class, all of their classes, I've been working with them for years. They are basically the stewards of the prairie. That's their big fourth grade project. And so every month we come out and we do programming with those fourth grade students. In one way, shape, or form, we use both the prairie and Ziegler Park to be able to get them outside and get them invested in the natural spaces that are right around their schools. And their teachers have been amazing, just working with that and working with us and being supportive of getting their kids outside, which is why we put in the effort that we do. And so lo and behold, I had, as Jeff alluded to, a gentleman named Chuck that called me up and was like, hey, I'm looking to retire from being a purple martin landlord, basically. And I have the pole, the pulley, I've got a songbird magnet, I've got the gourds, I've got all this stuff and I'm looking for a good home for it. And I said, well, yeah, we'd love to have it, and asked him, you know, if it's not used at the marsh, would it be okay to be used for this project at Mayville? And he was gracious enough to say, yeah, that sounds amazing. And so we set up a time, got all the equipment and checked everything out, and it was all in just amazing shape, basically ready to get into the ground and up for the next season. And so we were super excited that the most expensive part of the project was wonderfully donated to us. And so then we started working with the students on, well, what are some of the accessories that we could get that would really, really make this project come home? We wanted to do everything over the top to try to get these birds to come. And so there was a number of students from fourth grade that wrote letters to the bird club, and basically we're requesting funding for a sleeve that we needed to put in the ground to hold the pole. We needed some lumber, we needed some concrete to help get that in there, and then also some accessories like decoys and a solar panel to help the speaker system continue without being plugged in, because where we had the purple martin boxes was about, I don't know what, 40 yards from the nearest plug, which was inside the school, which didn't help us any. So we really had no accessible outlet to be able to plug in the speaker system. And so picture here, this is one of our fourth grade students is actually Carson. He's a member of the bird club, and he came and read off a number of the letters from the school, and our bird club voted and said, yep, we will support this project. And so then we were off and running with getting all the fun accessories. So we ordered I think 6 different decoys to be able to put on there. I told the kids, I was like, we're doing everything we can to trick those birds to come to us, right? We want to make sure that we are doing that. Coming with all the equipment was this songbird magnet, which had a purple martin option. So basically you could turn that on, and as soon as the sunshine hit it, it was going to start playing calls of purple martins. And so we wanted to have this running as long as possible, but because it wasn't connected to a power source, Jeff did some electrical engineering with a solar panel that we also ordered with funds from the bird club. And this is what that speaker system was playing nonstop for us, basically, once we got everything going. And so we were pulling out everything, right? We had the decoys, we had the speakers, we had the solar panel, we had this amazing looking system, and this was our goal, right? We wanted to have a full purple martin complex. Now, granted, and some of you may know this already, purple martin colonies are very difficult to establish from scratch. You'll have people that'll tell you that they've had systems like this up with the decoys, with the songbird magnet for 1 year, 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, 20 years, and still nothing. You know, maybe have a purple martin kind of check it out here, another one check it out here, but just will not establish. And so we knew from the get-go, and I warned the kids from the get-go, I was like, we're doing everything we can, but don't be disappointed if we don't see anything. So that was ingrained in them quite a bit. So had all the stuff. This happened the previous fall and over the winter. So now we played the waiting game until we were able to dig a hole. We didn't wait long enough. As Jeff mentioned, that hole was brutal. It was frozen gravel, felt like cement that we were about to pour into it, but we did finally get the hole dug. And he looks much happier in this picture than what was actually happening during that day. I think we had to go back to the shop for bigger tools and a bigger shovel and some other things. It took a lot longer than we anticipated, but we had to put this base in so that there was something cemented in for that pole to go into. So if we had high winds or anything, that was not gonna, we didn't want to have a bent pole or a broken pole right off the bat because it was very exposed at the top of that hill. It could get pretty windy there. So we did complete it. Just took longer than we thought. So now we get the kids involved. We just did the hole. Like that was easy enough. So on March 28th, we had 3 different classes. Each class came out, and not only did we have the purple martin boxes, we also had a number of tree swallow boxes or bluebird boxes that were out there that have been out there for many years that we've been monitoring. And so we started with that as well and checked their boxes, got them all ready for the spring. A couple of them needed some refurbishment, so we taught some of the kids how to use power tools, which was an interesting experience as well. And we fixed them up. You can see on the ground here, this is a busted box that just wore out over time. And so we replaced some of those boxes with brand new fresh ones. That way we figured if we didn't have any purple martins, maybe we had a better chance for some tree swallows or some bluebirds. So we're putting eggs in a couple different baskets that we'd have some birds for the kids to be able to look at. They also helped with the purple martin install. So we had to get that big pole up. Kids helped with that. They did a great job. And then each class was in charge of 4 gourds, and those were their gourds for the entire year that they were going to be monitoring and checking. So they all got to put the cedar chips into the gourds. We talked about why they needed those in there, just to make it feel like some of the debris from a cavity, and they were able to do that. And then they popped all those gourds onto each of the arms, and each class got to hoist it up, because that's the fun part, right? Is hoisting that up with the pulley system. So that was the first class and the first 4 gourds going up. They also got a chance to really think about where they wanted to put those decoys. We had 6 of them, so 2 for each class. So we had a couple on the top, a couple on the gourds, a couple on some of the other arms. So they were really excited to be able to do that. And then this is the last of the gourds going on for that particular day. And yeah, this is the final hoist before it's up and rolling for the last little bit. So we also had a fun experience with the kids for using a post hole pounder. What's it called? Yes. All right. I got yelled at before for calling it the wrong name. And the kids had a fun time dropping that big heavy post hole pounder on the rebar to get that set. So right here on the bottom, this green thing, this is the speaker system, the Songbird magnet, and then this is the solar panel that we electrically connected to basically keep that speaker running until either the speaker or the solar panel lost power, or it was a rainy day. So we did have to recharge it every so often, but it really worked pretty slick to be able to keep that speaker running constantly. So we didn't have to be out there to sit with like a CD player or anything like that. It worked out really well. So this is final product. This is the full Martin House complex, 12 different gourds, the Songbird magnet, and the speaker system. So this was March 28th. Typically we start seeing first purple martins coming back about April 15th or so. So we didn't start the speaker system up quite yet. We gave it until kind of just a little bit before April 15th before we got that rolling. And then we kind of waited. Starting May 1st, I was at the school every morning. So the students had the opportunity to sign up every morning to come out before school with me, and we checked all the boxes and we checked the Martin houses. So it was kind of a fun incentive for the students that if they wanted to, they could come out and check these boxes. And so we did that every day, basically from May 1st until the end of their school year. And we just did a quick 8-minute check to see what was going on. So on May 13th, we had some success, right? Is this a purple martin nest? No, this is not a purple martin nest, but that's okay. This is our tree swallow nest. So tree swallows, they will nest in those boxes that I showed you before. They'll have a grassy cup nest, and then they will bring in feathers. So the kids were excited that we did have a nesting tree swallow in one of the boxes with some eggs. A couple days later, disaster, right? So we had 6 different tornadoes come through Dodge County. One really hit Mayville hard. And so I was very concerned about our Martin house. I was hoping our hole that we dug was deep enough and the cement was strong enough. The tornado that came through Mayville hit the south side of town. The school was on the north side of town. So when I drove through and we were kind of checking things out and seeing if anybody needed help, Martin house was standing in good shape. We lost a decoy or 2, but other than that, not bad. So that was a pretty rough situation for our town. But Purple Martin Complex did stand tall. So next check after we had some days off school to get things situated, May 19th, we now had 3 eggs in that tree swallow box, and our prairie was sprouting a couple of fun little plants. It's a prairie, but this is shooting star, which is usually like a woodland plant, but there's one shooting star in the corner that blooms every year. So it was fun to see that blooming after everything that happened. So next weather event, May 21st through 22nd, we had about 2.5 days of nonstop light rain, temperatures in the low 40s, and high winds. Like everything that could go wrong for an aerial insectivore, right? That there's no finding food when you have conditions like that. And it really took a number on those. So this picture on the right, this is a number of barn swallows that we found around the building here. There was probably actually about 15 to 20 more that I picked up that just could not survive because they could not get food for those 2 days. This picture on the left is one of our purple martin boxes here. There's about 8 or 9 purple martins all tucked in there, just trying to stay warm and get out of that wind. So we had a really low purple martin year here at Horicon, and this probably didn't help the situation at all. And so that also impacted us a little bit in Mayville with our tree swallow box. That nest that you saw previously was abandoned, and those did not survive because of those low temperatures. So it was an interesting weather year in the month of May. But we did continue our checks, and May 29th, speaker went silent. Probably the solar panel ran out of juice, and I was like, I don't have time to fix it today, so I'll take it home, charge it, bring it back in the morning. May 30th, I'm walking in to go check in with our students, solar panel in hand, so knowing that speaker is not working, and what do I hear? Purple martins. And I just stop in my tracks, right? I was like, holy cow, I hear a martin, solar panels in my hand. I know it's not the speaker that's working. So I'm trying to find this thing. I'm waiting for the kids coming out. I open the door and I'm like, get the teacher, come on out here. I was like, I see it right there. There's a purple martin sitting on our box. So they had sent me, I should have put this in here. They had sent me a couple of pictures. The teachers were like snapping pictures. All the kids were like, is that it? Is that it? And almost all of them were starlings. So I had to completely burst their bubble. But this one, I was like, this is it. I could hear it. The speaker's not working. That is a purple martin. And so it was just flying overhead, calling around. And so the kids that were out there with me that morning and the teachers just had like the biggest smiles ever because they knew that was a really impressive first step. So it was super, super exciting. Next day, May 31st, it brought a buddy. We saw at least 2, possibly 3 that morning as well. So you can see there's a couple right here on this particular gourd. So that was good. We're like, just keep bringing your buddies, right? Find some more out there and see what you can do. June 2nd, we're getting towards the end of school. So the tree swallows re-nested in a completely different box after they lost that first box. So they've got 5 eggs. So the kids were super excited that even though we lost one box, they did re-nest. And then we still had a number of martins that were checking out the gourd. So it wasn't just a like quick one and done. Sometimes you'll just have a pass by second year male. They were really staying around and checking things out, which was super encouraging for us. June 5th, we had our tree swallow box. This was mom holding on tight. So we had 5 eggs. So the kids got to see her on nest and checking, making sure she was incubating. Jeff came out this day with his big fancy camera and photography skills and took a couple of really cool pictures of the purple martins checking out these boxes. So these are a couple from that morning. These were actually requested by the school district because they wanted to put out a little article about all the work that the 4th graders did. So Jeff was nice enough to come in and take some awesome videos of our purple martins, but you can see they're not that full iridescent. These are our second year purple martins, which again, when you're creating a new colony, is very, very common to not have full after second year adults. So really checking out and protecting the boxes. What's interesting is this particular gourd right here. We had another pair of tree swallows that started nesting in this and had some eggs in there. And Jeff and I were like, or I was more like, what do I do with that? And Jeff was like, well, the purple martins are bigger. They'll probably make their presence known at some point, and we'll see what happens. So this was one that they started protecting quite a bit. So Jeff got some pretty cool shots of them going in and out of the box. They all had the starling protectors on them. So that's, let's see if you can see it better. It's got this little bat wing shape right here so that starlings cannot get in there. It doesn't keep out house sparrows, but it at least keeps the starlings out, which is one less invasive species that you have to worry about. This was kind of fun. This one had just a little bit of a cedar chip in its mouth. So I don't know if that's part of the ritual of pair bonding or if they're using that to excavate and move that nest around a little bit. But it was a promising sign for us that they were really, really engaged in that cavity and looking around in there. So you can see another pair again here. You can hear the tree swallow above that. He is very grumpy at them because they're in his box. Such a cool sound though. Like, so again, these are not the full after second year adults. You can see female here, very brownish, and then a couple of little spots here for that male. So another fun thing that happened that day is we had this tree swallow sitting on the fence and it was going after a feather quite a bit. So it was chasing this around and finally caught it. If you caught before, tree swallows line their nests with feathers. And this one was finding one to hopefully finish off one of the nests that was there. So that was really cool. All right, June 6th. So this is the last day of school for kids and last day that we did checks. And so gourds 9 and 11 showed nesting material. So these thicker straw grasses, which were in the prairie, that is not what would be used by a tree swallow or a bluebird. That is purple martin. Same thing here, but we have eggs in this one. These eggs are not from a purple martin. This is those tree swallow eggs that they had started nesting in. So we have a little bit of drama going on at this point in time. So unfortunately, the kids were out of school at this point, but they did have summer school. So we went and checked with some of their summer school classes. So on June 16th, gourd 11 This is not the one that had the tree swallow drama. We found that they had 4 eggs in there. So these, I was a little concerned when I first saw it, because I was like, why are they tucked all the way to the back? And Jeff said, no, that's normal. A lot of times they'll tuck them way to the back to keep them out of reach of any predator that could reach in that hole. So I'm learning a lot about purple martins through this entire process. And then same day we popped into the drama filled gourd, and there was more drama. So we've got full nests now, the green leaves. We have the 1, 2, 3 tree swallow eggs, but then we have one significantly larger egg. That's the purple martin egg. So those purple martins had at least put an egg in there. We're not sure if they've officially kicked out the tree swallows yet, but for whatever reason, gourd number 9 was a hot commodity for multiple species. And then on June 19th, you can see that green leaf covering the 4 eggs that were in here. So likely telling us that nesting is complete. Incubation is going to start shortly if it hasn't already. This is also what June 19th brought for our tree swallow nest. So we had a number of those eggs successfully hatch, and mom and dad were actively feeding those little ones as well. So kids, we were still able to send pictures to the teachers throughout the summer, and they could send their students through the apps that we use. So even throughout the summer, we could let kids know how things were going and how they were progressing. This is gourd 9. So now we're pretty confident that the tree swallows have completely been abandoned or abandoned this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 purple martin eggs in here at this point in time. So this gourd 9 is a little bit behind, probably about a week behind at least the other gourd. July 1st, we got babies. So we ended up with 2, I think 3, but only 2 survived. In this gourd 11, there was 4 eggs to start with, but likely first time nesters. So that isn't super surprising. July 10th, we've got 4 little purple martins right here, and then those discarded tree swallow eggs that are no longer viable. And then these are the 2 that are currently surviving from that first nest. You can see they're quite a bit bigger already. So July 16th, here's our 4, all looking nice and healthy, which is exciting. And these are the 2. Getting some pin feathers in already, a little bit further along the process. All right, July 21st. This is probably the last time that we're going to see these 2 purple martins before they fledge. They're about ready to go. And these 4, again, a little bit behind, but all looking really strong. So we were encouraged that those 4 were hopefully going to survive. And then on August 11th, this was the last time that I saw any young in the nest. But again, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 surviving to fledging. And after that, they were off. We did see them a little bit around the nesting structure after that, but like I mentioned before, by the end of August, they're already flocking up into bigger groups and they're out of here. So they were wandering through. So needless to say, students, teachers, everybody involved, principal, administrators, they were all super excited about the project, about the partnership with the Bird Club, about partnership with DNR. And obviously the kids had a great time. So they wanted to say a big thank you. I did give them, as 5th graders, an assignment. And basically I wanted to know like their top 3 words or phrases to describe the experience. So we made just a fun little thing like this: fun, exciting, awesome, best project ever, fun outdoors. I mean, you name it. They really, really enjoyed this opportunity, and it wouldn't have been possible without the Bird Club support and Chuck's support for donating those, that structure. And so huge thank you to everybody that was involved. And we're so excited to see what next spring brings. We're hoping that all of those, we had, I think, about 10 martins that we had counted throughout that time. And there was other nests that were started but not completed. So we're hopeful that those all come back and are successful. And I think the really exciting thing that I'll end on is the Purple Martin Conservation Association somehow ran across the article that the school group put out. And they contacted me and said, hey, we love this story about what happened in Mayville, and we want you to write something up for our newsletter for the Purple Martin Conservation Association. So we were going to be in the winter, but they loved all of Jeff's pictures so much that they said, nope, we need more space. So it's going to be in the spring issue of the Purple Martin update coming up pretty soon. So that whole story will be written up and in the magazine, which I think will also be just super cool for the kids. They're going to send a bunch of copies for the school for the kids to be able to look through and just remember the project that they've been working on and all the hard work that went into it. So that is all I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions about the Purple Martins in general, about the project, anything along those lines. But just again, a huge thank you to the Bird Club for the support and for our generous donor for the boxes or for the gourds. And it can be done, I guess, is the moral of the story. It's a lot of work, but it can be done. So we're super excited about it. But